I might have enjoyed this one a little more if I could understand what was going on. Let me explain. Hey everybody, what's going on? Today we are going to be talking about the adaptation of Lin-Manuel Miranda's In the Heights. I will tell you this, I'm probably going to drop a few spoilers in this review. So I will say this. In the end, while it wasn't for me, I like to think there's better musicals out there. This was still this one still had a lot going for it, and I still do recommend it to people that do like musicals because there was a lot that was very well done in this one, and while again it wasn't totally for me, and again I'm going to explain that in a minute. It's still, I think, worth checking out if you are a fan of musicals, because trust me, there's worse ones out there too. What you have in this movie is multiple different stories, where it's about people's connection to this neighborhood. Some people are trying to get out of the neighborhood. Some people are trying to better the neighborhood. The story is mostly being told by Usnavi, who is telling these kids a story. He's at a beach and he's telling this kids a story about Washington Heights, and he talks about his story. He talks about the girl named Vanessa that he likes in her dreams. He talks about Nina, who was one of them that got out and was going to college. He talks about Benny, who was Nina's ex-boyfriend. He also talks about Claudia, who is like the matriarch of the neighborhood. She's the one that raised Uznavi. So there's just a lot of different stories going on. There's also Sonny, who ends up being an undocumented immigrant, and it does play into the story big time. They also talk about Jimmy Smith's character, who is Nina's father. There's also Daniela, who runs the local beauty salon, and she's moving out of the neighborhood. So there's a lot of different stories going on. I want to talk about first what really took me out of this movie, and this is not something the movie did wrong. This is just something that it's my ignorance. It's my not knowing Spanish. See, here's the thing. This, I think, and this would benefit me and many others. There's a lot of times in this where characters are speaking Spanish, whether it be in the songs or they're just talking. And if I don't know what they're saying, it's hard for me to stay in the story. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them doing that, but for me, and I'm sure many others, not knowing what they're saying is going to take you out of it. And it did take me out of a few different songs and things. I'm not saying the songs aren't good. I'm not saying the story or some of the stories aren't good. I mean, I'll talk about what I thought about the different stories here in a second, but when it comes to not knowing what they're saying, it's kind of hard to know what's going on at times. I mean, you get the general idea the entire time, but having some subtitles up for some of the songs and some of just the story itself would be very beneficial to viewers that don't understand Spanish. Again, those that do are going to get more out of this, I think, than those that don't. Again, that's not something they did wrong. It's just something that I think if they would have done, if they would have put some English subtitles in for every time that Spanish was spoken, it would have helped me get into the story more. Again, you're gonna get enough of the story, I think, if you don't know Spanish, but I think you're gonna get more out of it if you do. When it comes to the stories, some of them worked for me and some of them didn't. I think the one that had the best story was Nina. She's the girl that got out of the city and got to go to college, but she's trying to quit college and come back. And the reason she wants to quit is because some racial stuff happened at the college where, uh, you know, she was profiled and all this stuff, even though she didn't do anything wrong. You know, she's a sweetheart, right? Um, but I liked her story because I was afraid that her character was just going to quit, and that was just going to be it. She made the choice to quit, and but no, she actually finds a reason to stay in the fight, as her father said. He said something along the lines of, you know, you may get beat up, you may get bruised, but you got to stay in the ring. And she finds a reason to want to go back to school and to keep fighting and to get educated. And it's a very good reason. So I like her story a lot. I also like the story of Claudia, who again is the matriarch of the neighborhood. She's kind of what holds everything together. She holds everything together, and she has probably the best song of the whole thing. And Olga Merediz, I don't know if I'm saying her name right. She played the same part in the Broadway show, and it shows. She seems to have a really good understanding of her character, and her song, it's talking about whether or not it's okay if she can finally die, and I thought it was probably one of the strongest songs of the whole show. Then you have the story of Benny. He's the ex-boyfriend of Nina. I really didn't get a lot out of his story. His story is more of a support character, even though he does have some bits and pieces in some of the bigger plots of the whole story. At first, when Nina comes home, he's happy to see her and glad she's back and doesn't want her to go away again. And I was thinking they might make him stay that way, but they don't. He does end up supporting her going back. I don't know if I could probably do without the. I'm kidding here, but I could have done without them in song talking about the size of his choo-choo train or whatever it was they called it. I don't remember what they called it. Like he's got a big you know what. But his character is more of a support character. And then you have Vanessa. Vanessa, for me, was probably my least liked character, because she causes another character to make a decision because she loves them. And really, her character just, she seemed to like, she learned her lesson right at the last minute, which movies do that and shows do that. I get that. But again, it causes a character to make it causes a character to change his entire dream. And it just didn't, I don't know, it just didn't work for me. I didn't, okay, either she just didn't care, or she's just not that smart. Because if she can't tell that Usnavi is in love with her the entire movie, she acts like when someone tells her he's in love with you, she's like, what? But anyway, I just wasn't real big on her character. Got Usnavi then. He, again, is kind of telling the entire story. And his dream is to leave and, leave the country and start up his father's business again. And his whole dream is to go there. And in the end, and again, I'm jumping into spoiler territory here, he ends up giving up his dream to stay in the Heights. Now, while what they did works in essence, where he's reminded that his dream can be anywhere, really though, Vanessa who he's been pining over the entire movie. Near the end, she she's just like, I see she's been trying to get a storefront to make her clothing designs and stuff, and he gets someone to back her, and of course she's like, "Oh, you did this wonderful thing for me. I can't believe you would do that for me." Again, she's pretty aloof to either she doesn't care that he really cares for her, or she just really didn't know. But again, over the entire movie, he's pining over her. So how could she not know? Um, but she goes to him and is just like, "I can't believe you did that for me. You need to stay and save the Heights because everybody's leaving," you know. And um, and she puts all that pressure on him, but he's still gonna go, and until uh, he sees what her and someone else did for him, uh, he decides. Then all of a sudden he decides, I'm not gonna go. I'm gonna stay here. So he kind of gives up his dream. Yes, again, you could say he gives up his dream because he realizes his dream could be anywhere. But also, let's be honest, it's like Fred Durst. He did it all for the nookie. Because if she wouldn't have said, "I love you," in the end, he would have left and fulfilled his dream. He was on his way to fulfilling his dream. And if I bought into their relationship, it might have worked, but I didn't. I didn't buy. Like I said, he pined over her the whole time, and she either. I mean, they talk about. I mean, heck, he even practically calls her a slut. In one of the songs, he's like, "Oh, you're." The heck, they go out on a date, and she dances. She wants some guy asks her to dance, and he doesn't stand up for himself, and she's like, "Do you mind?" And he's just like, "Yeah, go ahead, dance with other dudes." But then later, he's just like, "Oh yeah, you have all these other guys all over you, and you're with all these other guys." Like I said, he practically calls her a slut. Um, but yeah, I just didn't buy into their love story. If they would have had a better developed love story, the ending would have worked a lot better for me. But since I didn't buy into it, the ending where she gets him to stay just didn't work for me. Um, and then one little thing I have to tack on. Lin-Manuel Miranda's character, he sells shaved ice, and he's losing business to the Mr. Softy man. And he's kind of maybe the biggest jerk of the movie in the end, because there's an after credit scene where the Mr. Softy truck is broken down on like one of the hottest days, and so everyone comes to the shaved ice stand instead. And he's singing a song like, "Haha, I knew I'd outlast you," basically. And then he raises the prices. And you almost wonder if he raises the prices just A, for profit, or B, because it's like, well, yeah, all you people went and got ice cream uh, whenever it was hot, but now he's broken down. Now you're coming back to me. Well, you're going to pay more. So I thought that was kind of funny. Um, as I said before, there's a lot of really cool set pieces and stuff in this, and uh, the way the songs and everything are set up, there's a lot of good, uh, dancing and singing and everything else. There is a really cool song where two people are dancing up the side of a building. I thought that was really cool. So I didn't have any real problem, other than I talked about earlier about not being able to understand everything people were saying, what the words of the song really were, because again, I don't speak Spanish. But everything was really nice. Everything looked really good. So I'm not going to fault the movie for anything like that. But again, in the end, it just totally wasn't for me. Do I still, again, I recommend it. But it's just not, the movie's not for me. I would have liked to have understood it better. Um, but then again, also, the main love story just didn't work for me either. But with Nina's story, I thought hers was really good, and it helped carry the weight of what didn't work. But anyway, yeah, I do recommend In the Heights. You can see it on HBO Max right now or in theaters. Honestly, a movie like this, as some of the set pieces were and how they looked, seeing it in the theater or on a big screen, or a bigger screen at home, is definitely the way to watch it. Because of what's all going on in the movie. But anyway, that's going to be all for this review. See you later.